Again, we begin. This is a poem by Donald Babcock titled The Little Duck. Now we are going to look at something pretty special. It is a duck riding the ocean 100 feet beyond the surf. No, it is not a gull. A gull always has a raucous touch about him. This is some sort of duck, and he cuddles in the swells. He isn't cold, and he is thinking things over. There is a big heaving in the Atlantic, and he is a part of it. He looks a bit like a mandarin or the Lord Buddha meditating under the bo tree, but he has hardly enough above the eyes to be a philosopher. He has poise, however, which is what philosophers must have. He can rest while the Atlantic heaves because he rests in the Atlantic. Probably he doesn't know how large the ocean is, and neither do you. But he realizes it. And what does he do, I ask you? He sits down in it. He reposes in the immediate as if it were infinity, which it is. He has made himself a part of the boundless by easing himself into just where it touches him. I like the duck. He doesn't know much, but he's got religion. So do we. Rank by rank, again we stand. Our hymn is number 358. Let's do it. And we join in the words of our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So be it.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Parish in Bedford, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. We welcome the certain and the seeking, the lifers and the newcomers, the joyful and the brokenhearted, all of whom are beloved, all of whom belong. Life is richer, deeper, and more gratifying when we live it together. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever body you live in, welcome home. My name is Megan Lyons. I'm one of the ministers here at the First Parish in Bedford, and it is so good to be back. The kids are taller. The new ones are letting us know that they're here. We love you in the back. That's great. Some of our younger folks have gone off to college, and we miss them already. Some folks had surgery or moved houses, and some beloveds have passed away. The water communion ritual last week told me that you all did lots of neat things, including just staying at home and taking it really slow. And Brad practiced his crab dance, so that's good, Brad. Following the service today, all are welcome to join for community hour through the doors behind me and head on in there. And you could stop by the welcome table and find out a little bit more about us and what's going on at First Parish, and tell us a little bit about you. We want to get to know you. One of the ways that you can stay in touch is to find that little blue connection card in your pew, put your name and email or a phone number on there, and you'd actually get a real live human calling you and saying, welcome, what are you interested in? What wishes do you have about a faith community? What are you curious about? So it's a great way to stay in touch. Here's the thing about community hour and coffee and nibbles and things like that. It works because all of us bring our stewardship to the game. And we're still looking for some people to sign up, to opt in, and to sign up with Clarice today in community hour. You can look where. Wave, Clarice, where are you? Clarice is our volunteer coordinator. So no giving her the stink eye. She's just trying to get the whole thing to work together. If you don't have a chance to sign up, that's okay. Our habit and custom is to assign everyone a chance to serve here. If you just can't, your back hurts, or you just cannot do that, we understand. You're just going to have to opt out unless you've already let her know. But we love it if you can pick 3 or 4 times during the church year, more if you're able to do ushering or to do coffee, and it's great. We do it all together. It works wonderfully that way. Let's see, in the back of your order of service, as usual, there's a little announcement section. You'll find a great concert is happening here next Sunday. Don't miss it. Read this pamphlet. 15 Red Sox tickets are still available if you talk to me. I've purchased $34 tickets. I bought 80 of them out of my own pocket. We have 65 people going. If you want to come, it's a bus will leave here at 5 p.m. September 29th at 5 p.m. It will leave here. The game is at 7. We're playing Red Sox versus the Houston Astros, so love in both directions. They're a great team, we're a great team, and we're going to have a good time. So there's some tickets left. Talk to me if you're interested. You could note that there is a new ride service in place for folks living at Carlton Willard who need rides to First Parish for morning services. It's briefly described in your order of service, and this is something we're working on figuring out together. We want it to be possible for every person who wants to come to church to be able to get a ride. Our bus is not happening this year because we figure we can do it with each other, for each other. Right now we're sorting out Carlton Willard because we know that's where the majority of people who want a ride are asking from, but we want to include everybody. Lee Vorderer is helping us figure that out, and she'd love help thinking about that and having people volunteer. You may notice that we have a new adaptation for our front pew. It's so awesome. It picks up so that we can move everyone in it back, and a wheelchair can fit there. If you haven't seen it, you should come check it out. It's really great. We want this place to be workable for everyone who wants to come in the door. That's right, Holly. Just lean right in. Check it out. It looks good. If you'd like to see it in action, Lee Vorderer, who heads up the Access for All team, is going to be able to show it off for you. Starting September 26th, Doug Mooter, Patrick Oates, and I will be leading a 6-session class called 12 Questions. This happened 20 years ago. It was really popular then, and we're bringing it back. The idea is to come question ultimate life questions together. A sample question might be, is it under our control whether we have good lives or not? Or is it just luck? So you can come and answer and think about that kind of question. One class or all 6. It's free. We'll consider notions or beliefs we might take for granted and how this affects the lives we lead. You don't need to let me know you're coming, but it really helps us plan. And so let me know if you can. And if you want childcare, talk to me. It can be possible, but tell me ahead of time. All right. And now, Lisa is going to say a welcome on behalf of her and the whole religious education exploration. Folks, it's not a time for all ages, because get ready for the hand balancer, which isn't Lisa, although we know Lisa. You balance lots of things.
I balance lots of things, not hands. It matters what we teach our kids. And it's really helpful when you know what we teach our kids. And I know that a lot of folks here that don't have kids in our RE program have asked, well, what do we teach our kids? This pamphlet that we created over the summer is a brief pamphlet that introduces people to our religious exploration and faith development program here at First Parish in Bedford. There are a couple in the pews, so you could share them and take a look at them. If you have someone in your neighborhood or at home or in your family that you would like to introduce to our program, please take the pamphlet. The membership committee will have them, and we will have plenty to put around in different places throughout Bedford. So this is answering your question, and it's helping us get the word out about who we are and the important work that we do and the fun and good time that we have with kids here at First Parish in Bedford. And I welcome all families who are returning and kids, and I welcome new families and kids. And after the service, you'll see in the order of service that directly after the service, there's an open house in the kids' classrooms, and there's directions to that so that you can get to know a little bit more about what we're doing downstairs and upstairs on Sunday mornings. Thanks.
And we haven't quite gotten the circus out of our system yet. And so, from our good friends at the Boston Circus Guild, please welcome Morgan the Hand Balancer. Another day in the office. Kids and teachers are off to their in-gathering, and we're going to sing that song, Sanctuary, we learned last spring. Someone's leading that?
We did learn this last year. We'll sing it a few times. I'm just going to go around it. Join me. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. One more time. Love, prepare me, be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
This is a poem by Ted Loder. Its title is Pry Me Off Dead Center. And it's not an easy poem, so bear with me. O persistent God, deliver me from assuming your mercy is gentle. Pressure me that I may grow more human, not through the lessening of my struggles, but through an expansion of them that will undam me and unbury my gifts. Deepen my hurt until I learn to share it and myself openly and my needs honestly. Sharpen my fears until I name them and release the power I have locked in them and they in me. Accentuate my confusion until I shed those grandiose expectations that divert me from the small, glad gifts of the now and the here and the me. Expose my shame where it shivers, crouched behind the curtains of propriety, until I can laugh at last through my common frailties and failures, laugh my way toward becoming whole. Deliver me from just going through the motions and wasting everything I have, which is today. A chance, a choice, my creativity, your call. O persistent God, let how much it all matters pry me off dead center. So if I am moved inside to tears or sighs or screams or smiles or dreams, they will be real, and I will be in touch with who I am and who you are and who my sisters and brothers are. Freely we have received, freely give. For the good work of this congregation within and far, far beyond these walls, our morning offering will now gratefully be received. Wow. Okay, so Megan and I say we'll each preachify for 5 minutes. Start your stopwatches. Our theme this morning is balance. Thank you, Morgan, the hand balancer. At the beginning of a church year, Megan and I think about balancing noisy sermons and quiet sermons. Should there be quiet before the service? Is one beach ball enough? Are 5 beach balls too many? Do circus performers connect us or distract us? Are we being too political or insufficiently political? So many of us struggle with the balance between work and personal life. There's hard and challenging stuff we must address in the outside world, but always there's stuff in each and every one of our lives. You come here wanting to make sense of your lives, and we owe you some sort of answer, or at least a question for you to ponder. We started the morning with a poem about the duck riding the waves, and that's great. We all want to repose in the immediate as if it were infinity, which it is. We all want to roll with what happens. And then there is that second poem about prying us off dead center. Deliver me from assuming your mercy is gentle. Pressure me that I may grow more human. Deepen my hurt, sharpen my fears, accentuate my confusion, expose my shame, deliver me from just going through the motions and wasting everything I have, which is today. Pry me off dead center, so if I am moved to tears or sighs or screams or smiles or dreams, they will be real, and I will be in touch with who I am and who you are and who my sisters and brothers are. That's why we're here, my sisters and brothers and cousins, to be as real as we possibly can be. It doesn't matter how weird, messed up, complicated, perverse, passionate, you get the idea. Whoever you are, you're welcome here, and let's take it deeper still. These are the words of Annie Dillard in her book, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, and she begins by saying, Thomas Merton wrote, "There is always a temptation to diddle around in the contemplative life, making itsy-bitsy statues. There's always an enormous temptation in all of life to diddle around, making itsy-bitsy friends and meals and journeys for itsy-bitsy years on end. It is so self-conscious, so apparently moral, simply to step aside from the gaps where the creeks and winds pour down, saying, I never merited this grace quite rightly, and then to sulk along the rest of your days on the edge of rage. I won't have it, Annie Dillard says. The world is wilder than that in all directions, more dangerous and bitter, more extravagant and bright. We are making hay when we should be making whoopee. We are raising tomatoes when we should be raising Cain or Lazarus. Go up into the gaps. If you can find them, they shift and vanish too. Stalk the gaps. squeak into a gap in the soil, turn and unlock more than a maple, a universe. This is how you spend this afternoon, and tomorrow morning, and tomorrow afternoon. Spend the afternoon. You can't take it with you.
This past week, I brought Pry Me Off Dead Center to my small group of 10 women ministers. It's our habit to bring a set of readings and consider them together after a time of meditation. The line in it that stuck out to most of us first was this one: "Deepen my hurt until I learn to share it and myself openly, and my needs honestly." Well, speaking of being honest, I didn't really like that first sentence. Deepen my hurt? No, I balked. I don't like pain. I'm not fond of the dentist. Sorry, Joanne Glover, wherever you are. I don't like headaches or menstrual cramps. I don't like depression or loneliness. Watching the news can be painful. Knowing how bad our immigration system is or what our politicians are up to. The list is so long. I feel like that REM song, "Everybody hurts sometimes." Or as Charlie Brown used to say to his teacher, "My brain is full, can I be excused?" But then I got to thinking how so often the most difficult aspect of feeling hurt is not the hurt itself, but rather the experience of feeling alone with the hurt. In truth, any time I have ever reached out and brought someone into my experience with me, no matter how hard it was to do that, the act of trying to connect fundamentally changed my experience of the pain. A while ago, I did a memorial service for a woman who died of a drug overdose. I sat on the couch with one of her young adult children the day before the service. At first, he was stoic, talking lightly about the difficulties he had with his mother. But in time, his extended family and I managed to show him that not only were tears or anger or whatever he might feel completely fine, but that his pain was our pain too. With the invitation to take up space, be a person in need, his defenses simply fell away. He hadn't written to his mom in prison, he said, and he wasn't sure if he could forgive himself for that. She hadn't called him right away when she got out, and he wondered if she was embarrassed about her life or her inability to be there for her 19-year-old son. Or maybe, he said, because the truth is that she just wasn't that fond of him. The terrible thought, once spoken, seemed to hang there like a glass falling off the counter, and it smashed into 1,000 pieces, and we all stood there staring down at it. Deepen my hurt, the prayer says, until I learn to share it and myself openly and my needs honestly. No, we said. The room shook our heads at him. That's not it. No one would choose addiction over you unless it was the only choice they could make. It wasn't you. She loved you, even though the disease took her from you. I see now, as you must as well, that we are not being asked to experience new pain in isolation. We are being asked to witness, companion, feel, let our hearts break beside someone who is bravely reaching out, or who cannot yet reach out. One of the most important things I ever learned in a preaching class was that no matter what you might think you're preaching on, no matter what has just happened in the news or what the theme of the month might be, Job is always in the room. By this I mean the suffering one, Like the character from the scriptures whose faith is being tested by God. His name was Job. Job is always present among us, and we should never forget to make room for him or her or them. Job is the person looked down on by society or abandoned by family, experiencing a terminal illness, someone with a secret they are too ashamed to talk about, someone whose loved one has just died. They are sitting there aching, feeling totally off kilter, hoping that being in church will help somehow. I would go as far to say that every pew in the house has someone who comes here in need. Our job as participants in this house of memory and hope is to reach out, feel unbalanced or awkward sometimes. That's okay, for the purpose of trying to connect or know someone more deeply. It's a sacred act to figure out how to remove a barrier of mind or heart and give someone the gift of showing themselves openly. Of course, when the hurting one is you or me, and this can just be so much harder to remember, allowing someone to know you and help you find balance or solace, well, that gives them a great gift as well. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. Reverend Bill Dawes asks, what does your hiddenness and silence do for you, for those around you, and for the ones who love you the most? What do you gain and what do you give up by holding onto and hoarding your deepest frustrations and fears? And what would be required of you to be seen and heard, recognized in the crowd, reaching out? To come out, whoever and whatever you are, to run the risk of being seen, known, free, and healed. Relatedly, the other lines of the poem that grabbed my small group were, sharpen my fears until I name them and release the power I have locked in them, and they in me. Sharpen my fears until I name them. Well, how do I know when I'm afraid? Is it a physical feeling? Is it a gesture, like turning away? Avoidance maybe, or staying quiet? I noticed for myself that a few weeks ago, I started taking the Hartwell Ave road right from my house all the way the back way through the trees and over here to church. It takes 1 minute longer than the road from my house down towards church on Concord Road, right by New England Nurseries. 3 enormous trees were felled in front of New England Nurseries a couple weeks back. Trees that had been there for longer than any surrounding building, I'm sure. I realized the purpose was probably to build a sidewalk or widen the road, but I've just started avoiding the place altogether, and I wasn't sure why. It didn't really come to me about what the trees did to my heart every time I drove by. In the quiet, meditative space of my small group, I finally realized that I am not only heartbroken about the trees themselves, defenseless giants against somebody's latest and greatest plans, but also that I'm frankly just terrified about the state of our climate. The lopping down of beautiful old trees makes me think of deforestation and melting icebergs every time I drive by. So here I am with all of you naming my fears. If the act of naming a fear can allow us the freedom to think anew and act with intention and power, let us start now. Someone said to me recently that we should treat our planet as though we are in a time of hospice care. It took my breath away. What would that mean for us then? People in hospice care have limited time remaining. Every day counts. Every hour is borrowed time. They may or may not be terrified of their end, but those who surround them in the process are called upon to act with awareness, intention, and most of all, kindness. Stay close. Listen to what is being conveyed. Ease the pain. say, and do the essential things. My grandfather, aged 96, having received the incredible attention and joy and respect of his hospice nurses, graduated from hospice twice. And really, the doctors couldn't explain it other than that his aliveness was rejuvenated. I am reminded by this quote often attributed to John Wesley: "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can." Even though I am afraid of the tidal wave of our climate issues, now is the time we have. I must attend, speak my truth, love the earth and all life upon it with everything I have. The prayer says, "Deliver me from just going through the motions and wasting everything I have, which is today, by chance, a choice, my creativity, your call." The truth about living fully or finding creativity or simply finding balance in the storm is that we don't have to do it alone. And in fact, we were never meant to. We were born to be part of a greater whole, a giant operation made of boundless, infinitesimal connections aligned so beautifully that even if one part is in pain, the whole system is out of whack. If you are broken, like the addicted mother, like the lopped down tree, like my grandfather in his hospice bed, then all of us must gather around and see how the healing might happen. Each of us plays a part in the balance of life, just as each of us holds a unique tool that can help. That tool is our creativity, our call, and to leave it abandoned and rusting is to unplug the oxygen machine. Amen.
So we're going to close this out with just a few questions and answers with Morgan. Come on up here, Morgan. So my first question is, how did you get into this line of work?
Well, I just want to start by saying I'm really grateful to be here today and be able to share what I do with all of you. I actually got into this, I started as a dancer, like age 12, went through the whole studio to competitive dance thing, and was feeling like, oh, what else is there? You know, you get to that certain point. And like in my early 20s, I discovered circus. I like YouTube, there's a YouTube video, and it was like, oh, there's a whole nother realm of performing and physical. And I was like, oh, let me get into that. And reaching out, and you kind of make connections, and then I discovered a really nice school in Vermont, and circus school, and went there and got the training I needed, and yeah, started performing once I graduated, and that's been my life ever since.
Well, you're awesome. We just want to be you. And we're so glad that you're here. Oh, that's okay. I'll leave it to you. So my question for you is about being balanced sometimes and being, of course, off-balanced at other times. And I wondered if you could say anything about what this kind of balance and then off-balancedness has taught you about how you live your life.
So you see my act, and the main focal point of the act is to be balanced and to, you know, show the amazingness I can do. Like, oh, I can do stuff with my feet while I'm balanced. Sometimes that doesn't always work. I'm doing it, and I'm like, oh, and I'm not, and I fall over. And it's, you know, kind of crappy when that happens in training, but when it happens on stage, it really, you know, the audience might not even notice. You know, you kind of adapt and you come out of it a different way, but I know I was off balance, and I feel really upset about that. And so it's at the end of my act, instead of feeling, you know, really good about what I did, I feel pretty let down that I was off balance, and it, you know, ruined the look of my act. And it just kind of, that's life. Sometimes it's going to go really well, and then sometimes you're going to mess up and something's going to throw you off. It could be lack of training, lack of sleep, whatever it is, and suddenly you're thrown off. And it's how do you handle that? How do I, after the end of my act, I'm feeling upset that I was off balance. What can I learn from it? What caused me to be off balance? Is it that big of a deal? Is it something I can learn from? Is it something I can grow from? And just kind of using it as a tool to learn, and just also learn how to move on. Like, sometimes you're gonna be off balance, and it's okay. It's okay.
Once more,
Thank
give it
you.
up for Morgan.
Thank you so much.
Our closing hymn is God of Grace and God of Glory. It's number 115. Our closing words. Spend the afternoon. You can't take it with you. So there.